Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. My name is Ibrahim Hooper. I'm National Communications Director for the Council on American-Islamic Relations. We're here today to release our first annual Islamophobia report. We'll first have a few words from CAIR's National Executive Director, Hatem Bazian, and then we'll have a more detailed analysis of the report by CAIR Legislative Director Corey Saylor. And then we'll have a final few words from Dr. Hatem Bazian, founder of the Center for the Study and Documentation of Islamophobia at UC Berkeley in California. So first of all, Hatem Bazian, CAIR National Executive Director.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Good morning. My name is Nihad Awad, N-I-H-A-D, A-W-A-D. I'm the National Executive Director of CAIR. First, I would like to thank the University of California, Berkeley Center for Race and Gender for partnering with CAIR to produce and do the research for the first Islamophobia report. This partnership was built through the leadership and excellent efforts of Dr. Hatem Bazian, who's joining us today. Through his work, we're successful in working with UC Berkeley to monitor this dangerous phenomena, the Islamophobia. And also I would like to thank Corey Saylor, CAIR's manager of this project and the main researcher. He has been working with many researchers and interviewing quite a few people. And I would like to thank our interns who have been instrumental in helping him and our researchers to make this report possible. Today we are releasing the first groundbreaking report on Islamophobia and its impact in the United States. We named it Same Hate, New Target. And I think those who know and study the experiences of minorities in the United States, they know that the mechanics of hate is the same. The newest target for this hate and hate mongering is the American Muslim community and Islam as a religion. Islamophobia is becoming recognized as a growing problem in the United States. And I refer you to the Southern Poverty Law Center's new report that was released. They recognize that Islamophobia is a growing issue in the United States, and also they identify the Islamophobes who have been mobilizing fear in the United States.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Corey Saylor. I'm CAIR's National Legislative Director and one of the primary authors of the report, and I'll be discussing the findings of the report with you. For those of you who've seen it, it's a fairly lengthy report. I've managed to narrow my presentation down to 2 hours, so set yourselves for it. No, 5 minutes. So first thing I want to do is thank the UC Berkeley Center for Race and Gender for partnering with us. That is a very important partnership to us, and we think that it will be a great thing moving forward. I also want to say that this report was conceived to establish a baseline. So we're not comparing to things in the past. We're saying during the 2009-2010 period, this is the baseline, and now we can start evaluating things moving forward. Primarily, it comes from interviews with experts, and then also from published polls and research from other organizations. So our definition for Islamophobia, if we can put that up: closed-minded prejudice against or hatred of Islam and Muslims. And we are key to point out the word in that phrase, closed-minded, because when you have the situation last year like Park 51, where 70% of the American public is opposed to something that's Muslim, we don't believe for a second that all 70% of those people are Islamophobes. Most of them are simply misinformed, and hey, let's face it, on any issue there's going to be people for and against it. We're talking about people that have rigid views of our faith, that see us as autocratic, totalitarian, the other, and that view Muslims as manipulative, devious, those kind of viewpoints. So it's a very small number overall. Unfortunately, they're getting more and more impact. We asked all of our interviewees, who do you think is doing the best job of pushing back against Islamophobia in the United States? Any name that appeared highly consistently got added to our list. I want to point to three of the people we listed here on this. New York Mayor Bloomberg, during the Park 51 episode last year, that was the Islamic Cultural Center in Lower Manhattan, he was one of the first people to come out and strongly, with the Statue of Liberty as a backdrop, remind everyone that American values are about inclusiveness, and if we start targeting one minority within any segment of our population, then we're surrendering the very American values we're often talking about being in support of. So Bloomberg's statement was incredibly important, and he's been consistent. Jon Stewart, you can never say enough about Jon Stewart on this issue. He greatly said, why does everybody think Americans are divided? They're united from sea to shining sea on dislike of Muslims. Inject humor into it, but remind everybody about American values, right? American values are judge the individual, not an entire group based on crass stereotypes. Also, during our interviews with people, we asked, who do you think is at the center of advancing Islamophobia in our nation today? And these are the names that once again were repeated again and again by our interviewees. I want to highlight a few. Pam Geller, she self-identifies as a racist, Islamophobe, anti-Muslim bigot. I can't say it any better myself. I think she sums it up. And based on the sheet that we gave you all earlier, you can see a number of different organizations are identifying her as a person who is a source of hate. Again, this is derived from our interviews. We asked everybody on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the best possible situation for Muslims, 10 being the worst. Where are we? 6.4 is the result that we got. What that indicates to us is that Islamophobia is trending toward the mainstream, but thankfully, the American belief in pluralism has pushed it back every time it's come really close. So Park 51, it came really close, it got pushed back. This just graphically shows you what we did as we went through every incident we had reported to us where a mosque had been targeted over the last 2 years. You can see a significant rise in incidents in 2010. That's something that's of concern to us and also has been reported on by the ACLU and Pew Research Trusts.
I'm really delighted to be here today to participate in this press conference. The Center for Race and Gender Islamophobia Research and Documentation Project at UC Berkeley is delighted to cement the relationship with CAIR, the Council on American-Islamic Relations, through issuing the first of many to come status of Islamophobia in the United States through the period of 2009-2010. Now, the University of California, Berkeley has a vision of inclusiveness and long-term commitment to diversity and empowerment, especially for underrepresented communities and those who are facing structural barriers and systematic discrimination. UC Berkeley, if you know, was one of the first campuses around the country to have an ethnic studies department, and then also San Francisco State. And it's interesting that the Center for Race and Gender comes out as a research unit for ethnic studies. This is the same center that have done considerable work in relations to the Chinese Americans and the discrimination faced by the Chinese Americans, also for Japanese Americans, African Americans, and therefore we take it as a responsibility on our part to recall the history of America with race relations, but also to contextualize it with the current period. In our view, at the Center for Race and Gender, the American Muslim community is going through a process of othering, readily documentable in a sample examination of press coverage, political debates, and policies on the local and national levels. You don't need a full lecture for an hour to document that Muslims are going through the othering. On any slow day, you pick up the newspaper, there are at least 10 negative stories about Muslims, and then there is possibly one positive in the obituary that is related to Muslims, meaning that the othering of Muslims is underway and is covering the full spectrum.